DnD players of Reddit, what's the most awesome or evil thing you've ever accomplished? One of my party members bought an elephant, but we needed to travel by boat and needed to sell it. Elephants weren't exactly common in the city we were in, but they also weren't in demand. So I, Bard W/disguise self and actor feat, went to the local stable posing as a noble servant desperately looking for an elephant for his master's son's birthday. I told him money was no object. He told us that he heard of an elephant in another city, so I told him that I would go there, but would be in town for a few days while arranging travel. A couple of days later, we had the owner of the elephant go to the stable looking to sell. The stable master saw the opportunity for profit and tried to buy at cost. I was in another disguise, pretending to be someone who had heard of the noble's search, and started a bidding war with the stable master. Once the price reached 500, I told him that I would buy it for that price, but I would need a day to gather the money. Stable master offered to buy it for 480 right now, and he agreed. And then we got on the boat and left. Stable master later hired some mercenaries to try to track us down when he figured out he'd been swindled, but I used another disguise self to make them think they were following the wrong group. A few years ago, I played in a Pathfinder campaign as a lawful good sorcerer with a long story arc in which I fully intended he would fall into evil. I used his bloodline, Infernal, can't remember the name, as the basis for this. I played for several months, becoming a little more evil and unpredictable every session, until I had to quit the game due to some other commitments. The GM and I agreed that my character suddenly just vanished without a word to the rest of the party, under suspicious circumstances. Several months later they were winding up the campaign and the GM invited me back to play in the final session. They were up against an evil spellcaster who was terrorizing the frontier area they were trying to settle/civilize. GM didn't tell the other players I was coming back. He had the never seen before NPC lure them into a trap, while I waited outside the room. On his signal, I strolled casually into the room in character and revealed myself as the bad guy they'd been hunting. And then proceeded to try to murder the shit out of them. It almost worked, too. But they got in a couple opportune crits and, well, good prevailed in the end. Too bad, really. This was YAAI back in college. We were a low-level party, most of us were new to the game, and we were attacked by ogres. The battle went on forever, but things were looking grim for us once the cleric went down. A few rounds later and the ogres were dead, but everyone but one character was down. I was playing this character for a guy who ended up leaving for an emergency. He had no healing magic. After everyone was bandaged, I looked to the nearby cave for shelter. We realized there were likely ogre children in there. Nobody could figure out how to tell if anyone was still in there, and how to get them out if they were. I had 2 hit points and any real fighting would likely end the whole adventure. I told the DM that I cut off the head of one of the dead female ogres, rolled it in like a bowling ball, and braced myself at the mouth of the cave for backstabbing bonuses. They ran out screaming, and were killed quickly. The DM looked at me chuckling as others, new to the game, were shocked by this. "You are a cold mother head roller," he said. Execute Ogre 66. The new Shrek movie sounds a bit dark. Goblin Slayer would approve. I stole from and killed a smith, blamed it on another smith in town, and then stole his stuff while he was being hung. I'll try to keep this short. We were a low-level party. I was playing a rogue, David was playing a warlock, and Michael was a fighter. The quest was to get a spell book from a wizard's tower. We broke in and the fighter failed the stealth check. The warlock was killed by magical rugs that smothered him. David was pretty upset because it was our first session, so he and the DM stepped outside for a few minutes after combat. When they came in, the DM said that the wizard was walking downstairs. I hid around the corner and used sneak attack to hit him for like 30 points of damage. Insta-kill. Turns out, while outside, the DM said that David could play the wizard as his character had just died. Until I killed him. Whoops. F for David. Apparently, in hobgoblin culture, if you kill a woman's husband, she becomes your wife. Well, one time my party was attacked by a group of hobgoblins. I killed one, not knowing it at the time. I killed one, and it turns out he had a wife, who was pregnant. Yeah. I had a set of hobgoblin triplets whose mom died in childbirth. But I turned them into a trio of bards, so it was cool. The badass Super King ruler vampire of the land walks in and starts kicking my party mates around like dolls. My turn comes up and instead of attacking, my gnome rogue takes a knee and pledges an undying allegiance to the vampire cause. I fail a persuasion check, and he cuts my head off. We were going to wipe anyway. I had to give it a shot. The last time I played as a character, I played an Illidan wizard who was given a robe of magic missiles, much like the robe of stars, by our DM. By expending one of the 7 beads attached to the robe, I could cast the magic missile spell at 9th level. Shortly after this, the other players and I entered an arena in which we all faced off against each other. It was just for fun. We wouldn't die from our wounds, and once we left, any magic we exhausted would be returned to us. Everyone kept attacking me because they felt, with my robe, I was the biggest threat. And they were right. Once I finally got the chance to attack, I expended all the beads on my robe. With some damage modifiers I was using combined with the force of the missiles, I obliterated the arena and everyone in it. I won the battle. It wasn't necessarily evil, but we incinerated the mayor of a town, then convinced the rest of his family that I was the mayor and that there was a conspiracy against our family and that we needed to leave. Also, the party could get our friends out of prison and allow a rival family to seize power. Not necessarily evil. Just pure evil. My DM hated my bard. My bard was suave, sexy, pansexual, and could seduce his way out of situations. So the DM kept trying to off my bard, and lured him into a succubus lair to hopefully give him death by snoo. Bard survived. With a series of good rolls, he satisfied the succubus enough that she promptly fell asleep. Bard snuck out and rejoined the party because he was bored. He eventually settled down with an orc warrior. Oh, I got a succubus story too. Our axe-wielding dwarven fighter was seduced by a succubus after complaining about how he hadn't seen a woman in months. My female monk gave him an earful for that. Anyways, he was in his room when the party heard his screams. The party busted in and my monk proceeded to grab the succubus by the hair and used that opportunity to hammer in any loose nails to the floorboards with her skull. Unfortunately, she teleported out before we could finish her off, but we caught up with her later that session. Blessings from the random number god. Like, comment, and subscribe for endless natural 20s on all your adventures.